JRPG here with another video, a comparison video for Star Ocean on the PSP versus the second story on the PS1. So what's better, Star Ocean on the PS1 or Star Ocean on the PSP? This is a comparison video which will go through all the differences and give you some my own personal thoughts on which I prefer. Now, Star Ocean 2 is one of the best games of all time, in my opinion. It's up there in my top 10 of all time, and not only just RPGs but all games. It really was one that stuck for most and is regarded as a fan favourite but the best in the series. I got Star Ocean 2 right around the time it came out, going on 15 years ago. I loved it then, I love it now, and I also got the PSP version when it came out in about 2007 or so. And that too is brilliant, but let's see now. So what's changed? There's a hell of a lot that actually changed, and I won't go into everything, but there's actually a lot that didn't change. Things that, if they did include, would have trumped the original. So first, in battle, the original you attacked once at a time, one attack per button, and the PSP version has a 3 attack combo taken from the first departure. Now there's good and bad parts to this. It's awesome to combo your regular attacks, but sometimes the enemy will move out of the way and you will be attacking nothing. It can make the game a bit easier than the original. Now the magic casting counts shown by a line under the character's HP/MP in the PSP version. It's a great change to the original hourglass kind of thing that they had. And the enemy map, while not really needed, is a nice touch. There's not here in the original. Apart from these, the battles are kept largely the same, so it's a bit more fluid, a bit more graphically in check, I suppose. Now onto the menu or the camp screen. A lot has changed between the versions in this regard. The layout, the look, the item creation, all's been changed. For the better or for the worse, I'm not sure. The first thing which I hated is that they changed the status screen portraits in favour of the anime version, the Star Ocean EX TV show. I hated this because they don't look like they're supposed to. Rena looks like a 10-year-old girl when she's actually 17-18. I think in the original version she actually does look 17-18. As well as during cutscenes, instead of like only the text box, they have a huge portrait of a cutout of the character who's talking that changes according to the emotions being expressed. I don't mind this per se, but I don't love it either. I think the original was better in this regard. Now down to the item creation process. They've really overhauled the item creation process. First of all, you don't go through here to do it. They changed the morphin animation. I really liked the old morphin animation. I thought this was awesome. Yeah, they changed it to a kind of like a fully voiced version where a little picture, not a moving picture, not a moving graphic, like a portrait of the item that flashes on the screen, and it's the biggest flash of light you'll ever see in a game. And you can speed it up with X, but I don't really think this version had anything better with that. I like the original morphin thing, and if you're playing at night or in the dark, it really hurts your eyes. The biggest flash of white happens when you try to do anything. The characters say something ridiculous every time, like pretend that didn't happen, all this kind of stuff. So I really didn't like that. I personally would have taken out the flash and made the whole process a lot quicker. There's a couple more things. Well, actually, they're moved around. The layout is moved around a lot. These are all moved into their own zone. The items that have their own categories like food and such. And I actually prefer this. There's no real great change to it, but I definitely prefer it. Moving on outside the battle and the menus, the mechanics, the single biggest difference in the PSP version is that the game is fully voiced. Now a lot of Trias don't have the best record when it comes to voice acting, although I prefer the original battle voices. I acknowledge that voice acting was something they had to include. They couldn't have made the updated port without it, but I still think that Star Ocean 2 is one of those games that wasn't supposed to stay silent, really. Much like Final Fantasy 7, I don't think it would work if they somehow changed the classics. See, the PS4 port is coming out of the PC port, and they didn't voice that, so it can be done. But I realised that since First Departure had the voices, they had to voice it, really. The last major change that arose out of the PS version is the change in place names and item names. Now people hate this, I've seen this on the boards and such, and it does confuse people a bit, as many of the major items and weapons have been renamed. So depending on what guide, walkthrough, or item list you're reading, it could be all wrong. So I don't mind this per se, but it's not for really for better or for worse. But some of the names did have to be changed. They were kind of stupid and stuff. But one thing I do hate is all the major antagonists in the game. Their names were changed. I really hated this. I don't know if they were originally called that in the original Japanese version or not, but I don't know. But they changed all their names, and it really sucked. So, what could they have done that they didn't do? That's something. You can't skip cutscenes or power through dialogue. You can kind of power through dialogue, but because of the voices, you can't skip the cutscenes. If they had this, it would have made the game so much better, especially with the amount of replay value that's supposed to be in the game. And I would have loved the way that the game has so many endings, that a way to characterize them, like they did in Chrono Trigger. You could kind of have a little gallery where you had all your endings. You can't turn off the voices. Now this would have been a great addition, as a lot of people would love to actually turn them off to get the benefit of the newer and updated port, but feel closer to the original. Another cool addition would have been a classic text box mode to remove the portraits from the scenes, to again bring it closer to the original if the player so wished. There was a chance to include an option for the Japanese voiceover, so you'd be amazed how many people actually prefer the Japanese voiceovers while playing JRPGs, and would at least like it included to experience it in the second playthrough. A lot of Tales games now include the Japanese voiceovers, which are the mortal enemy of Star Ocean, so it seemed to be going in the right direction. They took out the voice collection mechanic from the original, which is such a shame. Instead, it fills in automatically on the PSP version on its own, so I think it was a precursor for the battle trophies idea, and I wish they would have kept them, or actually added a set of battle trophies for this version. That would have made me so happy. So, last but not least, the most major thing they had changed was, or they didn't change, that had the prime opportunity to change, and Lord God, why didn't they change it? You'll notice I have Celine's spells turned off right now because of it, is the pause animation on spells. It would have made the game 100 times more playable. It actually makes casters important for once, like at the very least an option to shorten magic animations, possibly a short long option. I think they had that in Final Fantasy VIII for some of the summons. Eden had that maybe. The casters are still as redundant as ever. You'll realise pretty quickly that there's no point in waiting for someone to cast Sudden Cross, for instance, to take 7,000 damage when on an enemy, while one of your melee fighters can take tens of thousands of damage in seconds. So why didn't you change it? I don't know. In conclusion, what's better? The PSP version is less glitchy, it looks slightly more polished, has lots of subtle changes and added content, but it could have been done better to make it the best it could have been. The PSP's portability and additions puts it slightly in the lead here, but I still think the original is better. I feel like a lot of the additions were never supposed to be there, such as the voices. Could you imagine like anime looking portraits of voice acting in the original Final Fantasy VII? Probably, but would it ruin something that's special about the classic game? I think so. I feel the characters were better when they were voiced personally in your head, although they did have battle voices, as you can hear. But still, the PSP's portability of the game does push it slightly in front, but if you're emulating it on your PSP, then it's not really an issue, and you would turn to the classic version, I think. If both versions were available on PSN Store, then people could choose for themselves what to play, and I would love to see both of them up there, and I hope that they will be before Star Ocean 5 comes out. It's like I prefer the original, but when I go to play the game I turn to the PSP out of convenience. A PSP Store release would change all of that. While I love both versions, personally the PSP version will always win out for me. Oh no, sorry, the PS1 version will always win out for me. So what do you think? What do you think is better? Any more recommendations of what they could have changed that they didn't change? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching the video.